Hi, and welcome back to Grade 8 Math. This is Unit 5, Section 5, and the second video in this lesson. In this video, we will practice writing ratios for a given situation. Example 1. There are 10 basketballs and 7 soccer balls in the school gymnasium. Write a ratio to compare the number of basketballs to soccer balls. So we have to take the total number of basketballs, and we can write a colon, and then the number of soccer balls. You could also write this ratio as 10 to 7. It wouldn't make sense for me to write this ratio as a fraction because this is a part-to-part ratio and not a part-to-whole ratio. Write two part-to-whole ratios for this situation. So remember, a part-to-whole ratio is part of the group compared to the whole group. So in this case, we can write two different ratios, one for basketballs and one for the number of soccer balls. So to write a part-to-whole ratio for the number of basketballs, I would say it's 10 to the total number of balls, and the total would be 10 plus 7, which is 17. So 10 to 17. The ratio to represent the soccer balls would be 7 to 17. Write the part-to-whole ratios as percents. So because these are part-to-whole ratios, they can be written as fractions. So 10 to 17 can be written as a fraction and also as a percent. To write it as a percent, I would first change it to a decimal, and I get 0.588 approximately. And then to convert a decimal to a percent, remember we move two places to the right, so this is about 59%. 7 over 17, if I was to change that into a percent, would be equal to approximately 0.411, which then is about 41%. Example 2. Siobhan has only hockey cards and baseball cards in her collection. She has 100 hockey cards and 133 baseball cards. Write a ratio for each situation. So for the first question, we're going to write a ratio to compare the number of hockey cards to the number of baseball cards. So we simply take the number of hockey cards and we write it in a ratio with the baseball cards, so to 133. So this reads as 100 to 133. You could also write that as 100 to 133. And again, it wouldn't make sense to write this as a fraction because we're comparing hockey cards to baseball cards, not hockey cards to the total number of cards in the collection. For the second part, it's asking us to write a ratio to compare the number of hockey cards to the total number of cards. So it would be hockey cards in comparison to the total number. So if I have 100 hockey cards and 133 baseball cards, then together I have 233 cards. So the ratio would be 100 to 233. We could also write this as 100 to 233. And because this is a part-to-whole ratio, we could also write it as 100 over 233. If we wanted to take it a step further, we could also write that as a percent. Example 3. At a dog park, there are 16 brown dogs, 13 spotted dogs, and 4 white dogs. Write the ratio for each situation. Brown dogs to spotted dogs. So we would take the number of brown dogs, which is 16, and write that as a ratio with 13. So 16 colon 13. We could also write it as 16 to 13. It wouldn't make sense to write this as a fraction because this is a part-to-part ratio and not a part-to-whole ratio. If we want to write a ratio for brown dogs to spotted dogs to white dogs, this would be a 3-term ratio because we're comparing 3 things. So we would take the number of brown dogs, which is 16, and write it as a ratio to the number of spotted dogs, which is 13, and then to the number of white dogs, which is 4. We could also write this as 16 to 13 to 4. And obviously we couldn't write this as a fraction because it's a 3-term ratio. And if we want to find the ratio for the number of white dogs to the total number of dogs, then we would first have to find the total. So 16 plus 13 plus 4 gives us a total of 33. So I take the number of white dogs, which is 4, and write a ratio to compare the total number of dogs at the park, so to 33. We could also write 4 to 33. And for this one, we could write a fraction because it's a part to whole ratio. So we could say 4 out of 33. If I wanted to take it a step further, I could change that to a percent, and then that would give me the number of white dogs in the dog park as a percentage. You are now at the end of section 5. Please complete the activities for this lesson.